Thank you, everybody, for coming. Let's see, the first thing on the agenda is to approve the meeting minutes from February 6th. During my review, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask Christine to go back and review the tape because I see that we recorded that Sue moved and also seconded, and I don't recall that she did both, but I don't recall who seconded it, and I thought I had it written down, but I didn't. So we have to correct that.
Okay. All right.
So we can't really accept them.
Yeah, we can't really accept them, but anything else on these minutes?
Is this the one I was talking about?
Yeah, I think
is.
so, Mary.
Okay, there was a vote that I misunderstood, and it was recorded in the minutes that it was a vote about whether or not I agreed for Jan's chair position. I have no problem, I'm completely in support of Jan being chair. I thought we were voting on a 2-year rotation, and I thought that conversation went by quickly. And I didn't have a chance to add at the time, but if you don't mind, I'd like to mention that I think that's a fantastic idea, just because you learn so much about the town. And probably for whenever Jan is done, is what I'm suggesting. I don't want it to be misconstrued in any way.
Okay.
So, thank
So
you.
how do we reflect that, just as part of this week's meeting that we just had this discussion?
Yep.
Okay.
So Mary sent out an email and explained that to us. And so it's my understanding from the email that what Mary thought that she was voting on was having a 2-year rotation versus actually the chair. So what I said to her is that she or somebody else can make a motion to amend the minutes to include the fact that she was voting yes instead of no. And then you would take a vote then on the minutes, although it looks like we're going to table them because of the other issue. But somebody would have to make that motion, and it would have to carry. So somebody wants to make that motion.
Can I make a
Yep,
motion?
you can.
So moved.
Okay, so what is the motion, just so we're clear?
So the motion
is
is to amend the minutes to
Okay.
reflect that Mary was voting yes on Jan as chair.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. So Mary moved it, Mo second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Of course, no worries. Okay, and then we'll just have to bring these back
Right.
when she
So what I
checks
would
who
do is,
did a second.
I would do a motion now to table the
Okay.
minutes until the next meeting.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to table the meeting minutes from February 6th until the next meeting, so we can just confirm who made the motion and seconded. That's it, okay.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so thank you for that. And then we have accepting the meeting minutes from the 20th to review. Do I have a motion on that? Thank you, Mary. That's Mary and Chris. Thanks, Chris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so that's that business. Thank you for your patience. I think we're going to hear from Tracy.
No, it's Marilyn. First, we're going to do.
Oh, sorry,
first.
I skipped you. I'm so sorry. Come on down.
As long as you say okay, you can leave, right?
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to skip you. So come on down, and if you don't mind introducing yourself, we have some new committee members.
Sure. I'm Marilyn Mather. I'm a director of the Elder Services in West Bridgewater at the CLA.
Well, welcome.
Oh, thank you. I see you once a year. It's great.
I know. No, I come in.
Yes,
in.
you do.
Okay, so do you want to tell us what's going on with your budget? There's a little bit of movement going on here.
A little bit.
Okay.
I'll address the gasoline line item has gone up significantly,
Okay.
and that's because, as you know, during COVID, we didn't run our vans at all. So we had a very low line item. And then our own van that we owned bit the dust in a bad way. And so that had to be given back to the town. And then that bus, the one that we had as a grant, was not safe. for passengers going any distances. We were waiting, holding on for our new vans. Now we have 2 new vans. We plan on doing more trips, day trips, excursions with them, as we did prior to COVID. So we brought that line item back up.
Okay. That sounds actually great.
Yes, we're excited. We have our own van, beautiful brand new van, and a van that was granted from that as well.
Excellent.
Has attendance increased? I mean, there's pre-COVID, COVID, knock on wood, post-COVID.
It has increased significantly since, actually even since 2019. I did not get those figures for you, but I have year to year, and I have $4,000 people increase from 23 to 24.
That's a lot.
And
Wow.
That's a lot of
we
people.
had 38,228 people visit the COA in 2024.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So is that individual people or just visits? Like somebody could come in multiple times?
It is multiple times.
Okay.
Yes. Like Mo comes to the men's group on Tuesday morning, so it's every time he's come in, he
You
has
count.
scanned his card and he gets counted.
Oh, wow,
So-
that's
So
great.
I have to revisit that. It's not 38,000.
It's
individuals.
38,000
38,000
visits.
Bulging.
visits.
Yeah. I was gonna say, we must be drawing from all over the state.
Daily basis,
Well,
that's
it's awesome that they're coming back that often.
Yeah, that's really good,
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. All our programs have increased, and you'll see that in my annual report.
That's really good. Okay. So do you have some staff movement going on up here?
Yes. We have hired a new assistant for myself. Connie is retiring at the end of this month. And she's working 5 days a week rather than the 4 that Connie works. So you'll see that in that line item. The rest of it is increasing hours of our part-time staff to take care of 38,000 people as they come through. With programs increasing, the day is fuller, so somebody that now goes home at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're still going with programming after lunch and after that time, so we still need people there a little bit longer during the day.
Okay.
And also drivers, that includes the drivers. With these extra trips that we're taking, we would have to increase those hours as well.
On the part-time increase, how many hours are you increasing? Do you know?
It's maybe, let me look. There are a few. So,
I think that's what I'm looking for. Can we still get that?
I was just gonna say, I don't think we get that anymore.
payroll
The actual
information?
people,
So they get turned in, but, so when they get emailed to you, that is not included?
I don't think so. No. I haven't seen them. And I didn't notice it until just now when I thought, oh, we used to get those.
They still fill them out,
Yeah,
but you don't get the big books anymore. So I'll
Right.
talk to Christine.
that's fine.
What I was looking for was to see, was it the number of staff that had increased? And how is it, what is it, FTEs?
Yeah.
Compared to the prior year? That's what I was looking for.
sure, it's maybe an hour and a half for our part-time people. Right now, I have someone working 6 hours a day, and I'm bringing it up to 7.
Okay. So it's the same number of people, just a little few more hours
Then I
each.
have staff.
Okay.
So
Yeah. And we don't have any place for more staff. We already have
Right.
one desk that 2 people are sharing.
Oh, okay.
So we'd have to hang them up the rest.
So would you say of the 35,000, most of it is Allison, or? The increase is what, 30?
I would say a good majority of that is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, what's Allison? Oh, it's a person.
She's the
I
new,
didn't know if it was code or something.
the new assistant,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
So we should just thank Connie for all her service. Good for her, retiring.
Absolutely. She's, the way she puts it, she is trading in her desk chair for a hammock.
Oh, good for her.
And,
Although I don't recommend it this time of year. It's a little chilly.
This is her second retirement.
Oh, is it?
She she's great at flower arranging and decorating Christmas time
Yeah.
and whatever, so she wants to
Yeah.
go back and volunteer her time.
Oh, that's so
But
wonderful.
they are going to be going closer to her daughter in New York.
Oh,
upstate New York.
okay.
Not moving, but her camper will be there. So they'll
Oh.
go for 2 or 3 weeks at a time during spring,
Nice,
summer.
during the nice
I'm
weather.
happy for her.
Yeah, that's great, that's great. Well, thank her for us. We appreciate it. So any other questions on this budget for Marilyn? Okay, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for all the great work that you and the team do every single day.
And that's exactly what it's all about, is the team.
Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Allison is a great addition. We're very happy with her.
Oh, excellent, great, we're glad to hear it.
All good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now you're on the hot seat. Sorry about that. So welcome.
Thank you.
So I think you have the planner budget and then like the building inspector. Do you want to do those all kind of together rather than?
Sure.
You know, we had some in the middle there.
Sure.
Okay, so the planners is 12:30, so that's next.
Okay, and I'm Tracy Aldrich, for anyone that doesn't know me.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start with the planner. The majority of the budget stayed the same. A few lines changed. So 5111 is increasing by the 3% contractual amount, the salary increase. 5112 is the administrative personnel. It did decrease a little bit due to the retirement of the longtime staff member in building. So that kind of brought it down a little bit, as well as the longevity line 5140 that went down as a result of Karen's retirement as well.
Okay, great. Any questions on this budget?
Can't argue with a reduction.
Well, you could, but I don't recommend it. Okay, the next one is, let's see, I guess the building inspectors?
Sure, so, again, not a lot of changes here. 51, line 5111,
I'm so sorry, which budget?
2410.
24.
It's just a few down, yeah, sorry.
so the only changes here, line 5111, there's an increase there reflecting the new building inspector's salary. He's scheduled to start March 24th. And 5140 was a longevity decrease due to the departure of the building inspector.
Okay. Okay. Any questions on this budget? Nope. Okay, great. Then, let's see, what's next?
Just the next one.
The gas and plumbing, 2420?
Yes, so again, not a lot of changes. Lines 5111 and 5112 saw the 3% pay increases for the inspectors. And 57, sorry, that was it for the inspector, the gas and plumbing inspector.
Okay.
Those are the only
Questions
changes
on
there.
this one? Okay,
Great.
and then we have electrical inspector, 2450.
Okay, and also similarly, the increases to 5111 and 5112, 3% increases. And then I am seeking a slight increase to 5710, the travel and phone stipend for the electrical inspector. We have pretty good data now coming out of the new online permitting system, so we can see the number of trips and inspections and applications, and there is a pretty substantial number here that seem to warrant the requested increase, so that's what that is for.
Okay. How's that new system working out?
Good, we're working through some of the kinks of it being a new system. I think we're kind of working with the platform provider to tweak it a little bit, but it's great in terms of data and tracking and
Okay.
information. It's a lot easier to pull things, and people don't have to come in to submit applications.
And
They
so
can do it all online, which is great.
users are adopting it? The adoption?
Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of applications are coming in online, not through people coming in.
Great.
So that's been good. Adoption's been good. And a lot of inspectors or contractors, I should say, are used to doing it in other communities, so it's it's fairly
Not a
seamless
big
for them.
learning curve for them.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on this budget? Okay. And then we have, town hall, I guess.
So this
1940.
one, there was an increase to, so largely the same, not a lot of change here, but there was an increase to 5240, which is the property maintenance and janitorial line.
Okay.
And the increases here, so last year, the actual spend was a little higher than the requested budget amount, so that was kind of the baseline. And then there were a couple of increases due to a change in janitorial service providers. And there's a monthly fire alarm service charge that is a service that the fire department uses, and they bill it back to all the departments. So that's just for the building departments, or sorry, the town hall share of that. So that is what that increase is for. Other than that, everything stayed flat.
Okay. Any questions on this budget? You know, I was thinking though, if you have a lot of people going online, does that reduce the work for the staff here in the building, with the permit stuff?
Yeah,
Or
good question.
how's-
So
how does
it-
that work?
I wouldn't say it's reducing the work. Right now, I think it's a shift in work.
Okay.
There has been a little bit of the curve of going over to the online system and working through the application changes and
Okay.
things like that. I think it's a different repository of information, so it's maybe the filing things are changing, but not necessarily reducing as of yet.
Okay.
I think we'll check in another year and see where we are, but
Okay, all right. Any other questions for Tracy? I think that was it for you, right?
Yep, those were the budgets, and then I'll give a quick update if I can on
Of
just the
course.
grants. So this year, the net new grants total about 187,000 and change. And, you know, we're still constantly researching, constantly applying, but it's a pretty decent amount given the competitive nature of the grants we're going for, and then we're continuing to manage the ones that we got last year as well. So
Okay,
Amy's
so
been-
what are the new,
Special emphasis on the grants you're requesting?
To be honest, being a small town, we're somewhat limited in the types of grants that, there are a lot that are aimed at certain economic status and things like that. So we're really trying to go for whatever we think will be a good fit for. So we're going for a lot of state grants. We went for a couple of federal grants, and we've even gone for a couple of private grants as well.
like for what? Like what kind of grants?
So we've been successful getting several through the Mass Department Office of Disabilities for ADA compliance improvements. We've got, let's see, I think 4 total through that office, maybe 5. We got some technical planning assistance grants, which have helped fund some of the work that's been associated with the MBTA community's zoning law compliance activities. We got a couple of grants in that realm. So they definitely vary. We got a couple for, I'm trying to think of what some other big ones were.
Technology.
Sorry, yes, for digitization. We actually had Rob Casper had sought that one previously, and we were kind of going through the execution of it, got a lot of equipment, got a lot of, all of the Board of Health records digitized, which has been, I think Rob can attest to the ease of which we can access it for people.
Oh.
And
It's so easy, yes, it was
Yeah,
great.
yep.
Yes.
And so varied.
Do we still have a grant writer?
We do, Amy Forster.
Okay.
Yep, she's in my office.
That's great that you're doing that.
So correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were managing $300,000 worth of grants or so last year, so all told, you're close to $500,000 this year.
Yep,
That's pretty good.
between managing and what we got, yep.
Do they renew?
It depends on the terms of the grant. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
one that's actually repairing, or paying for design and engineering related to the fish ladder
Yeah.
at War Memorial Park.
Right.
And that one spans a couple of years.
Yeah.
So that's one that we're managing, you know, it has quarterly reporting and all that good stuff, and that was a substantial grant, so, but it varies. Some of them are a year cycle.
Okay. Great.
Excellent.
Good job.
That's really good. $500,000
been good.
is not nothing.
Yep,
Excellent. Any other questions?
you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, who's up next? Let's see. Water treatment facilities and Board of Health. If you don't mind introducing yourself.
Good evening, members of the Finance Committee. My name is Robert Casper, the Health Agent for the town. I'm here to present the Board of Health and the wastewater treatment facility budget. Which one would you like me to do first?
Let's see, 1950, I think, which is the water treatment.
So we're seeking an increase in the line 5243, the equipment repairs and maintenance. The system is getting older. We are pumping. The pumping costs have gone up from, we pump every August, usually just a few weeks prior to the school. In August, it was 12.9 cents. In August of 2023, it was 12.9 cents. In August of 2024, it was 14.9 cents. So I forecasted for this coming August, 16.9 cents. I figured another 2 cent a gallon increase. So along with the increased pumping costs, we're pumping about 41,000 gallons out of the 6 septic tanks that we have, the high school, the Spring Street School, the Roselle, the Howard, the concession stand at the field, and Town Hall. So, and then the age of the system. It's been online since 2009, the system underneath the fields at the Howard School, and it's showing its age a little bit, so we might need more money for equipment repairs and replacement.
Okay.
This is a really good topic for the school building to be part of. We've been talking
I was on the
about-
last Zoom call with Lori.
Oh, I don't know.
There was one earlier this week.
Well, at the school building committee
That's a
meeting,
huge,
that we've been talking a lot about septics and wastewater, and I know I don't know the first thing about it, except that it's extensive and matters.
Art Cabral is on that committee, I
Yes,
do
he
believe.
is.
So he's our review engineer. He reviews all of our septic plans and gets them back to us for me to present to the board for approval.
In the consultant services, why is that such a, well, I mean, it's not a huge number, but it's a decrease, right?
A small one, yes.
And what's driving that?
Just Art hasn't been really submitting his reviews here and there. He submits them, when he submits them, we pay him. Usually
Okay.
submit them once a month, but sometimes it's every other month or every third month, so it's
Okay.
I'm trying to keep on him to get those invoices in, but
Yeah.
he does a good job with maintaining the systems and overseeing them. He really does. He's a good asset to the town.
He is.
Great. Any questions on this budget?
No.
Nope. Okay. How about, the Board of Health budget?
So the Board of Health budget, all the line items are remaining flat except for one, item line 5119, which is the health agent. That is a contractual 3% increase between the board and myself.
Okay.
The chairman sends his apologies. He's stuck in Hadley, Mass. On a plumbing job. So if he wasn't stuck there, he would be here with me this evening.
Oh, that's okay. Any questions on this budget?
So the board's getting an increase as well,
No, just the
No.
health agent.
just the agent, okay.
and there's no worry about increase in, I don't know, I'm thinking about laboratory services.
No.
That's a big one.
We haven't. We use it here and there, but no, that's a good number.
Okay.
And what about the nursing?
No, that's enough money that we have for our public health nurse, Janine Kearns, who does a very good job for us.
Okay. All right. Any questions on this? Well, I
None?
think you're off the hook.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good rest of your evening.
You as well. Okay, next up, looks like we have the Conservation Commission. Hey, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Hello, good evening. Tim Hay, Conservation Agent and Stormwater Supervisor. I'm here with Conservation Budget, Open Space, and the Tree Wardens.
Okay,
Where do you want me to start?
let's do Conservation first.
Okay.
That's first up in my packet.
Again, like most of the other budgets, the only increase is the contractual salary increases.
Okay,
Other than that, everything else stayed the same.
okay. Any questions on this budget?
Pretty tight.
Next, I have Open Space Committee.
Okay, and that one, there was a request by Open Space for an increase. It looks percentage-wise large, but
Yeah.
dollar amount, it's still pretty small.
Mhm.
The River Walk event that they host, they try to get as many donations as they can, but the costs have considerably gone up. They also do the townwide cleanup day in April, and again, there are some added costs into that they're not able to get volunteer donations for. They've run 4 additional programs during the year, 2 of them out on conservation or open space properties. So they're trying to get more use out of the town-owned land and get people out onto it.
Mhm.
So that's basically why they're looking for an increase.
Okay. Any questions on this one? No? Okay.
Is that enough money for what you need for Riverwalk?
Yeah, they do a really good job at getting donations.
Oh, yeah, they
And
do.
a lot of services are in-kind provided, so they think they're still okay with it.
Okay. Anything else?
And the tree warden budget is
Yeah.
same as it was, level funded, no increases at all.
Okay, fair enough. Any questions on that budget? No? Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
coming.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. And it looks like you're up, Annie. Welcome. Good to see you.
Hello, I'm Ann Yanatelli, Town Clerk. I'm here with the Town Clerk's budget, the election registration, and Veterans and Memorial Day. Do you care where I start?
Let's do the town clerks first, please.
So the Town Clerk's budget increase is mostly contractual. It's in the clerical salaries and the elected officials. Sharon and I have both, both have had 10 years with the town this spring, me in April, her in May, so our longevity has gone up to reflect that. There's just a little increase in office supplies due to vendors and contracts have gone up. And then there is an increase in the preservation of records because last year with the $5,000, I found that I could get very little done because of the increase in costs. So I'm asking for another $2,500 to get some more of the older records done.
So there's no money that's available from we're getting some money for the older records from the
CPC?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was very excited about that. And then I found out that it's not supposed to be used for that. So I can't, so the CPC won't give it to me anymore. So then a few years ago when I
remember
found
that.
that out, that's when I first added the $5,000 into my budget line. And I don't know, it's been 3 years, maybe 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
And the $5,000 has gotten me a couple of books done, but this time around with the increase in costs, it was a struggle, and I was only able to get like 1 book done. So I'd like to get a little bit more money to get a little bit more things
So
done.
how much more do you have to do, Annie?
It's an ongoing thing.
Yeah. But I mean, like the older stuff.
I have most of the older stuff done. I mean, I am pretty close to the real old stuff that has to be treated
Yeah.
and, preserved. I'm getting really close. Now we're finding just some real old records that are of interest to the town that should be preserved. As
Okay.
far as the vital records, we're pretty much done with those old records. Now it's like fire records and, old rebellion record, like the real, historical portion of the records with a few marriage intentions that I'm still working on.
Because I was just wondering if the cost keeps going up. Does it make
you know-
sense to even go to like 35? I don't know, like what does each book cost and then,
Yeah, I mean, the book that I did this time, it cost me $4,900.
wow.
So it depends, but I'm thinking, I'm thinking as we get up into the more recent records, where the quality of the paper is better and the print ink is
Should be
better,
a little less
it should
money.
be a little less money.
Okay.
But I think if I just creep up if I need to creep up, if I do it every year.
Yeah,
And just do it, I'm thinking if I could do a little bit at a time, a book here, 2 books, whatever, and just keep moving along,
yeah.
you know?
Okay. Now, do you do this, or you send it
Oh,
out?
no, I have a company called Co-File. They'll
Mhm.
come out and they'll go into the safe with me and we'll look at stuff and they'll put a cost together.
I
They
got it.
take all the stuff, they take it to where they do all their preserving, and then it gets shipped back
Ship
to me.
back. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right, any questions on this budget from anybody? No? Okay, perfect. Next is elections and registration.
And that one went down, because there's only one election that's coming up as opposed to, 3. Yeah, 3 in the fiscal year.
Okay. Well, that's pretty straightforward. Any questions on this one? Okay. And then lastly, the Veterans and Memorial Day.
The Veterans and Memorial Day is gone up because the parade is in our town this year.
Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Thanks for coming. Nice to see you. I think we got through them all.
You did, so a couple of
Okay.
things, I want to let everybody know, your next meeting is on March 20th.
March
So
20.
that'll be 2 weeks from today. It
Okay.
will be a schools, so it's usually a little bit of a longer night. And you have not seen the
Okay.
police budget yet because there was some conflicts of time, so you'll see that budget that night as well.
Oh, that's a lot to do in one.
Yeah, so it's be one night and then you will be done your budget hearings.
Wow.
I know. And then, because the next time you meet will actually be April.
It's so smooth now. Just goes so smoothly. Awesome.
So your next meeting after that, I believe, is April 3rd. But it'll be a Thursday night, as it normally is. The selectmen will be voting on the budget the night before. And then at that point, you'll have the entire budget.
Yep.
And then, as you'll recall, for the people who have been here in the past, we'll go by budget or whatever, and then you'll vote on your full aggregate budget, because that will be the budget that will actually go to town meeting. After that, then we'll start focusing on warrant articles, because that'll be at your next meeting, and then before you know it, 3 weeks later, it's town meeting.
So on March 20th, we're also doing the warrant article?
No, March
No.
20th, you just,
The
March
fourth.
20th is just your largest,
Okay.
your last budgets.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
The other thing, if it's okay, I just want to bring something up to the committee. I had a conversation with the town moderator, and we had to do it by Zoom because he's not local, but I had a conversation with him, and we're trying to figure out what we're going to want to do about the future appointment of the Finance Committee.
Mm-hmm.
We went to town meeting and we made some amendments a few years ago. And Jason and I were talking about it, and it's just not working well. This past year, there was a lot of people that I felt bad for. And Jason agrees, we have to do something. So I'm bringing it up now only because, I having the conversation with Jason, I want to see what you guys think. I'll tell you what we were talking about. I have to put on the agenda for the selectmen. I'd have to talk to the bylaw study committee, like nothing else has been done yet. But I'd like to where obviously it has an impact on you guys, but right now, the moderator appoints a subcommittee, and the subcommittee then appoints the finance committee. But the process isn't being followed, and it's also really unfair to all the people that have been through the process. And I'm going to give some examples, but the bylaw says that the moderator is supposed to do it within 60 days of town meeting. That never happens.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 2 appointments, I can make the case, are not legitimate appointments, because the original bylaw wasn't done. But when you're a moderator, you have a full-time job, and it's summer, it's not always easy. And it's not always easy to reach people. And in this past year, Scott thought that he was appointed to a different term, so the town clerk had the wrong term. Mary wanted to be reappointed, so she then started to inquire, and it was unfair to her because legitimately you couldn't find all the information. It was unfair to Scott because Scott had to reapply multiple times. And then after the subcommittee met, they don't really understand that they have to do an appointment letter. And so I'll give an example. Jan is chair. She had no idea formally you were appointed until she reached out to me. And I spoke to Scott Weatherby 2 days before the finance committee meeting, and nobody told him he was not appointed. So he went 2 months and nobody knew.
It
Oh,
was,
that's
it was not great.
And so, it's nobody's fault. The reality is this, and part of this is because of the way the open meeting law works, is that the town moderator is the appointing authority. So, the town moderator appoints a subcommittee. In years past, the moderator would sit there at the meeting, hold their hand, and say, do this, and then send appointment letters and do minutes. Procedurally. But that's not, once you make the appointment, like for example, the subcommittee appoints you guys, the subcommittee's not here doing that for you. You're your own body. The subcommittee is their own body subject to the public records laws and the open meeting law. So 5 people, who in many cases don't know each other, meet for the first time that night. They have to elect a chair. They have to elect somebody that's a clerk. Then they have to figure out how they're going to run the process, who's going to they don't send out nomination letters, but again, they don't know.
Yeah, and half the time, I didn't even know the meetings were happening, and found out by accident or really late in the process. You know, it's just.
And then I'm also concerned about transparency. And again, I've had this conversation with Jason. So Jason and I are on the same page. But if I asked you right now, how many applications came into Jason, nobody could tell.
Nope.
He is not subject to the public records. I mean, he's not subject to the open meeting law. He's not a public body. He's one person. So when he makes those appointments for the subcommittee, there's no minutes, there's no understanding of how it gets done.
There's no transparency.
There's no transparency. Now, again, this is nothing against Jason, like, Jason and I have talked about this, like, this is
Yeah.
not
It's just
bad-mouthing
the way
anyone.
it's kinda
It's
set
a
up.
bad process. And so, I'm open to ideas, but a couple of years ago, we had this discussion. I want to make sure that everybody goes through the process, is treated right, is treated fair, and there's full transparency on it.
In
So-
communication.
In communication. So, what I had suggested 4 years ago is that the appointing authority would be a combination of elected officials, so that way they're all held accountable. So that way if they do something wrong, it's all on TV and they see it, right? So I had suggested at that time that it'd be the town moderator, the town clerk, and the Board of Selectmen in one meeting. Everything that comes to them, obviously, is a public record. It gets placed on the agenda as they do for all their items. Because there's professional staff, we reach out and we say, okay, the meeting's on such and such date, show up, your name's on the agenda, because that's the way it's supposed to be. And then 2, 3, or 1 person all shows up and then they take their votes.
Well, and then wouldn't we have a standard process as well? Because from the last couple of years, it seems like the process changed. You needed a resume, you didn't need a
Correct.
resume. You needed an
keep it
application,
on
you
file. They
didn't.
won't keep it
Right,
on
yeah,
Correct.
right.
That's entirely, so where the board has professional staff, now we can do that.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I struggle with is like the 2 of you were appointed this year. You're both appointed by the bylaw for 3 years. And the minutes reflect that you're both appointed for 3 years. When does your term start and when does it end? You have different dates.
Yeah, they
In-
gave me my dates. I
So-
don't think it was a full 3 years.
So that's my point, is that there's no
Yeah.
consistency on
Yeah,
this.
it's really
And I think we
been
need to clean it
clunky.
up. And ultimately, this board has a pretty important job as an advisory board, but it's not a policy board. Like,
Right.
you don't make policy.
No,
You guys, for the most part, your number one function is to be an advisory to town meeting.
right.
So I think that if we can clean that up and make it very transparent, and like I'm going to propose is that October 1st is when terms would start. Because I think if you think about the process for the Finance Committee, you haven't been through it yet. Mary, you have, I know you knew, but you've been through this many times. And all of you have been as well.
Yeah,
Is that town meeting happens in May. Then we're going to do end-of-year transfers sometimes over the summer.
Yeah.
So if we made it effective July 1st, it might be a new committee
Yeah.
that has no linkage to what just happened over the previous year.
right,
And so that doesn't make sense, and that's unfair to those new people.
yeah.
So my thinking is that if we say in the bylaw, so that way it's not changed, willy-nilly or by accident or not understanding.
And it's
Is that
clear.
it's clear. So we make it say October 1st, you serve 3 years till September 30th of 3 years later. And we can continue to spell out that if there is a vacancy that occurs during the season, that it can then be filled. Because there's still some confusion about whose role it is to do that. Technically, it says in there that the Board of Selectmen will fill a vacancy, but in the 12 years, almost 12, well, I'm going my 12th year, we've never seen it, but we've had vacancies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the subcommittee has always argued, no, we do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
And
was
it's been
originally
unclear.
appointed. I think the committee appointed me,
Yeah,
and that
so,
was before.
and that was before
Yeah,
me.
Yeah.
So I think we just want to clean it up.
Yep.
Now, I have not brought it to the selectmen. There's a bylaw study committee next week. I've not discussed it with them. I've started with Jason, and I spoke to Annie, because I think that they have to be on board. And Jason, as moderator, said that he would be happy to speak to it at town meeting in favor, because he thinks that it needs to change as well. And quite frankly, it affects the moderator the most, because the moderator is the one that does the subcommittee, right?
Well, and it
And-
affects the members of this committee, like, how do you guys feel about your experience? Like, a lot of times we don't know the terms are up, because we just
I have
kind of
no
going
idea.
through, and I'm like, I don't know when, somebody said to me, when's your term up? I'm like, I'm not sure. So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, like, how was your experience through this process? I mean, I know there was confusion when you were trying to apply, and I don't know, Chris, how you felt with your experience. I know.
I thought it was
With
a little
you-
onerous.
Yeah, with you, they were asking for a resume.
Resumes and,
Yeah, so I don't
And I
know.
just met with the previous moderator, and he asked me, who I knew in town. And basically, it was, and I says,
It's Jim.
my husband's parents lived here for a long time. And
Yeah.
he said, and you're a banker, right? And he said, you gonna continue to live here? And I said, yeah. He said, okay. And that was it. I
Yeah.
never gave
It
her a
was a
resume.
little,
Yeah, so,
He didn't even know what I knew.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm
So
saying, is
It's
that,
just very variable.
so when I say that it affects the moderator the most, what I meant by that is the fact that he makes the initial appointment.
Oh, yeah.
So I want, make sure he's happy and comfortable, because he's no longer gonna have that singular authority.
Yep.
But he's in favor, because he sees it in motion and he knows what's happening. And he
That's
agrees
fair.
that he's not always available to now help the subcommittee. And the subcommittee doesn't know, because your rules right now, per your bylaw, if you sit on the subcommittee, you can't sit on anything else.
Oh.
So you have no knowledge or experience how a meeting operates,
Right.
how to put an agenda together.
Oh, that-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you've never been on
That's
a,
not
you don't even know what Robert's rules are. So that's not fair to them.
Yeah.
But you guys, as this board, you're the most impacted by it, for all
Yeah.
the reasons you guys have just said.
Yep.
So I'm just collecting some ideas, because in a month, we're going to be voting on warrant articles. And this came up pretty quickly. And so I like to see what you guys' feedback is, and then I want to have a conversation with the bylaw study committee and have a conversation with the Board of Selectmen. And, the Board of Selectmen would have to be the one that would have to actually sponsor it. With the one request from Jason, which I thought was fair, because he said he would be more than happy to sponsor it, but if he sponsors it, then he can't also be the moderator. So he wants to be able to speak to it as a supporting person to it, but he also wants to still, because then you have to find somebody to actually sit in his place.
Yeah.
And it's silly to do,
Yeah.
because he could still
Right.
speak to it and not have any change. So
Right.
that makes sense to me. So I want to ask the board to sponsor it, but before I talk to anyone else, because you guys are the ones most impacted, I thought I'd bring it up and see, what your feedback is.
So-
Good, bad, or indifferent. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, how do you guys feel about the proposal? So it would be Annie or the town clerk, the moderator, and the Board of Selectmen.
that's what we ultimately decided. Again, in full transparency, I'd recommended this years ago.
Yeah.
But when I had spoken, Jason and I kicked it around, because if it just came directly from the moderator, then we're in the same position.
Yeah.
We don't know who applies, and
Yeah.
again, Jason's really good, and if you ask him, he's gonna answer questions.
Yeah.
But it's not always gonna be Jason, and he's not subject to a public, the open meeting law, so.
Right.
But yes, at this point, that's what I'm thinking,
It seems like
that's
you're
what,
involving the three major groups in town that would have the appropriate amount of input
Yeah.
about who would serve in this group.
I will say there was a lot of confusion and the subcommittees.
For sure.
Of course there is.
Yeah,
And they were given zero direction.
yes,
So
yeah,
if
and that's
it's
part of
people
the
that
problem.
understand,
Right.
like the bylaws and stuff, and selectmen obviously should.
And that's why I say it was unfair to them. And
Yeah.
it's been unfair to them.
Yeah.
And literally, the way our bylaw is written, the subcommittee is literally a butterfly. It lives for a couple of days and then it dies off. And that's, and then if it's something entirely different, then you're in the same position. Because, again, to give Molly, your wife, credit, she tried to come up with some best practices a few years ago.
Yeah.
But as I had instructed to her, they are not binding on a future committee.
Yeah.
So you have an entirely different committee. They might not be able to access it. Even if they do, they don't have to follow it.
Yeah.
They could do whatever they want. So
And
it's
the
just
one-
not workable.
Yeah, the ones that I've attended in the last few years have been different people. I mean, there's been, some continuity, but not a lot.
But you're right, it's unfair to
So there's not a
subcommittee.
lot of institutional knowledge
Correct.
because it evaporates.
Correct.
That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
What do other towns do, Dave?
So in some towns, they're elected, like Easton. Other towns, they're elected, they're appointed by the board, like in Bridgewater, it's a council. And in fact, in Bridgewater, part of the council sits on it. And then in others, it's directly from the town moderator.
With no subcommittee?
No, I can't find anyone
Which
else.
is what we used to have.
Correct. I can't find anybody who has a subcommittee. And
Yeah, and when they first presented it with this committee to appoint a committee, I was really crazy about it, but,
well, in fairness to the town, and I don't know when it started, that bylaw probably with the subcommittee, I bet you it's 50, 70 years old. There was first of all, there was no public records laws.
Yeah.
There was no open meeting laws.
Right.
Nothing was on camera. So they probably all talked,
yeah.
quite frankly, at a bar, and had a conversation and then did whatever they did.
Yeah.
But obviously, things have changed.
Yeah.
And so we probably have to make some changes along the way.
Okay. So, any thoughts on how you feel about this
how would
proposal or other proposals, or?
Terms run? Would you have to restart the meter on October 1st, or?
And who would be in charge? Because someone would have to take responsibility to make sure it happens each year.
So, again, I envision it to be a Board of Selectmen meeting. So, right now, whenever somebody does submit it, they either submit it to Jason or to my office, most of the time both. So I would think that they would just submit it to our office. We'll place it on the agenda, we'll reach out to candidates, we'll let them know. The selectmen take their votes, then the staff, there's three of us, then the staff does everything else that we do. So I think that's the way it would work.
So
I don't-
would the ultimate sort of owner be the Board of Selectmen?
No, because the thing is
Not really?
No, because like the Conservation Commission, they're appointed from the selectmen,
Mm-hmm.
but they're their own public body that does their own, like the selectmen don't say you can't vote this way.
Oh,
the
no,
zoning
I
board-
just meant like taking ownership of the process.
I think so, because they're the ones with the most amount of staff.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm open to any ideas. That's why
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there. And if people don't want to make a change, again, I'll talk to the board, I'll talk to the bylaw study committee, but I started here because this committee is the one that's most impacted.
Yeah.
But I
So
think all of,
how would it, if we did move to this, and we said this October 1st thing, how would it work for the people that are currently serving? Would you just, so I think mine expires after this budget season, so my term would expire on September 30th?
Correct.
And we just sort of roll everybody in that way?
exactly.
Okay.
I like the idea myself.
I'm
Do
sorry.
we know when everybody expired?
It is written down.
Yeah, Annie had provided me a list at one point, so I think we
There's
do.
a tablet in Andy's vault.
I
I know
think,
we talked about it at the committee to appoint,
yeah,
of who had
Because I
which
think I
term.
filled in for someone who left in the
Yeah.
middle of their term, so I think.
And
I
you
can-
s-
yes, for
Stepped into their
Cynthia,
place.
right? I think
Correct.
you came, yeah, so it would have been, I think, when Cynthia's
And
term
again, I don't know when
expired?
that is, so.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
you
so
got
that's
that
where it's
too.
squishy, right?
Correct.
That's one of the reasons we need to
Yeah.
Straighten it out.
Straightened out.
Yeah, I think the subcommittee, that's a bylaw change, though, right?
Yeah, it would be a
Yes,
bylaw
yeah,
change. And
yeah.
again, all 5 of you, 'cause, yeah, there's 5 of you. In all honesty, you guys should all have the same experience in making,
Yeah.
in the appointment process.
Right,
And you probably have 5 different ones.
right,
Yeah,
And
Yes.
so that's kind of proof that something needs to be done.
right.
I think we should, my own opinion is, we should
I mean, I'm not looking,
investigate what David is
Yeah.
suggesting.
Yeah,
and I'm not looking for a vote, it's not on the agenda.
No,
I'm not
right,
look-
right,
But like if there was a majority of you that are in favor of doing something, then I'm gonna go down the road. And ultimately, the selectmen have to sponsor it, so they have to be in favor. But if a majority of you are like, no, we like the way it is, or we are thinking something different, then I can bring that forward.
yeah,
No, I'd like to say that I think it's time we clean up the mess.
Yeah.
And make it clear and transparent.
yeah,
I would agree.
Make it clear.
and consistent.
Yes. But I
Should be
would want to
consistent.
think on it a little bit, though. Just to make sure it's fair to everybody.
Yeah. Do
I
you,
just don't want to see it politicized in any way.
yeah, again, though, this committee is not really a political committee, because we're just making
Advisory. yeah.
advisory,
Yeah.
stuff. So do you think there's a risk of that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't,
so I just want to think on it.
Mm.
That's all.
When do you need to,
No, I think I've got enough feedback, because again, there's no vote tonight.
okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, I
Good.
want to talk to all the members of the board, because I haven't done that yet,
Yeah,
and speak to them.
yeah, I'm
um,
not worried about the politicization, because I think, like you said, it's all gonna be on recorded meetings where, you know, if people in town don't like the way it's working, they can vote people out of office or whatever, right? I mean, there's feedback, there's a remedy for that, right?
Well, under the appointment authority, yes, but that's why I say,
Those seats could change all the time.
yeah, they could.
Selectmen seats change all the time, and then moderator seat. could
Yeah.
change.
They could.
Annie's seat would be the only.
Annie's
consistent.
pretty,
Yeah.
well, although she does run for election,
I know.
you know, she is an elected
I agree.
person, so
It's true.
if people don't like the way that stuff's going, they can vote differently, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality is that 98% of what you recommend to town meeting usually gets approved.
I know,
And there are times that town meeting doesn't take the recommendation of the
That's right.
finance committee.
Yeah.
right,
And that's why I say that ultimately, even if, just to use the same term, even if this board, for whatever silly reason, became overly political and said, I love this and I hate that, ultimately, it's only town meeting that makes that vote. And hopefully, and I do believe this would be the case, I think that would be transparent enough that town meeting would probably do whatever they're gonna do at town meeting to say, you guys are going down the wrong road.
yeah,
Um,
right,
you know, but,
okay. Well,
Right.
I think this was good discussion.
okay, well, thank you.
All right, so, March 20th, do we have a motion to adjourn?
moved?
Did we all say it at the same time?
I'm gonna say Mo moved and, Chris seconded, how's that?
Sounds great.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.